Well, welcome, Mike Ochsner, belovedly called Ox. You are our guest today, and what I'm excited to share is as one of your coaching clients, this is like such a gift for me to learn even more about you, but for everybody else to know more about you. That the last decade you've been spending it improving focus, attention, performance under pressure for some of the most high stakes performers on the planet. This includes military and law enforcement within special operations, elite athletes and executives, up to 5,000 of them more and counting. You're known as Ox, five-time best-selling author, founder of VisionTrain.com, and your work is built on a simple but counterintuitive premise that most performance problems, with it being focus, decision-making, stress response, even ADHD, these are not mindset issues, they're neurological ones. And I've found that to be very true myself, and that we can create measurable changes in these things fast, often in just minutes. And your latest book, which I have had the pleasure of reading and enjoying, Unleash ADHD is Your 6 Million Superpower. It's an Amazon bestseller in entrepreneurship and Christian professional development. Mike, or Ox, welcome to our show. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks, Dominic. It's great to be on the show.
Excellent. So as we do on most of these podcasts, Ox, I was hoping you could take us through kind of, the origin story of your journey, if you will. So you've been, a stockbroker, you've been a real estate investor, and then, life ended up, throwing you a curveball, kind of leading you in the direction that, you've gone through and really decided to focus on now. So can you take us through kind of, a little bit more detail about your origin story and how you came to do what you do now?
Yeah, I'll skip ahead a bit. I did a lot of high adventure activities, and in the process of doing those, I racked up over 15 concussions where I lost time, skiing into rocks and trees, which you're not supposed to do, rugby, full contact fighting, football, adventure racing, nighttime trail running into trees again, and all sorts of stuff that I call stupid fun. And I ended up having consequences from that. I had vertigo almost every night. My eyes stopped tracking correctly. I had lots of pain issues, sleep issues, focus issues, and anger issues. And it really sucked. And I ended up getting connected with an applied neurology group down in Phoenix and met with a guy named Matt Bush. And the 6 months prior to that, I hadn't been able to do a single push-up without pain in my shoulder. And he had me do about 20 minutes of vision and balance drills, and all of a sudden I could do 20 push-ups without pain. And I didn't understand it at all. And so I went home and I kept doing the drills. Well, at first I didn't, and the benefits tapered off. And I did the drills, benefits came back. Didn't do the drills, benefits tapered off. I was like, I should probably keep doing these. And I was doing firearms training at the time, focusing on accelerated learning technique, and started using the neurology drills with shooters who hadn't complained about concussions. And what I ended up finding over 1,000 shooters was by using neurology drills, I could help shooters improve speed and accuracy 288 times faster than what was possible with traditional firearms training. And to put that in perspective, we could take the benefits that you'd normally get after a 2 to 3 day live training and condense them into 5 to 10 minutes. And when you added regular training on top of that, it was just incredible. So worked a lot with military and law enforcement special operations. Some of those guys would retire and go into the business world. And they started telling me, hey, these things that you're telling me to do to shoot better and fight better, well, I can read better and I'm paying attention better. And I've got emotional regulation than I did before, and I sleep better. So started with elite athletes and entrepreneurs, Inc. 5000 executives, and it's been a very fun ride.
That's amazing. I mean, it's really neat to see how you've had, the setback in life, and you've been able to, lean into it, and from it, be able to create a business, and now in a position where you help others. Now, if I could circle back, so in addition to the shooter training, I know you've done training with professional athletes and some of them baseball players. Can you remind me of some of the stats that you told me earlier about just, the improvement that you've seen in terms of like reaction time?
Oh, well, a lot of it depends on how compromised somebody is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody has a head injury, we think about one part of the brain handling vision. There's over 60 parts of the brain that handle visual processing. And so it's really common for people's vision speed to slow down when they get a head impact. And it could be falling on ice. It could be whiplash from a car accident. It can be all sorts of different things. And when that happens, when we fix it, we can double, triple, or quadruple vision speed. It's pretty darn common to do. It's really amazing. It's a lot like being in a sports car and trying to accelerate with the parking brake on. The impact of releasing parking brake is dramatic and mind-boggling.
Yeah. So let's take this from, a sports athlete to an entrepreneur or, business executive. Can you expand a little bit more as far as like the core areas that you focus on to support these individuals, to really help them sharpen their focus, their ability to execute, their ability to think more clearly?
Yeah, one of the first areas I worked in was platform speaking and high stakes negotiating. And one of the things that makes those situations easier is to lower the threat level in the brain. And when we think about threat in the brain, it's not what we think of as normal stresses. Like, as an example, falling. You wouldn't think that falling would make a big difference in a negotiation or speaking on stage. I mean, if you fell, but most people aren't going to fall. But here's the thing, falling is the number one cause of non-automobile accidental death in the world. And it has been forever. And the brain hardwired to avoid falling. And so if there's any compromises in the balance system, the brain spends way more energy than it needs to on balance, and it doesn't have that fuel and that energy available for performance in the speaking, negotiating, selling, whatever the situation may be.
I just to add on, so Dom is our play-by-play. I'm the color commentary, and that's how this will kind of go. So that's how it works here. So I'll throw in fun little things. So my thing I want to throw in there, which ties in this, is there's the threat of dying from falling, but everybody's seen a movie where somebody's on stage and they fall, and it's super embarrassing to the point of like you just want to crawl into a hole. So I think from the being on stage, I think that embarrassment, that's a pretty strong threat. You may not die, but like you want to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to throw that. I thought that was
totally. No, I mean, falling on stage and speaking in front of a ton of people, yeah, that is like straight nightmare fuel.
But then the other, for just day-to-day stuff, one of the biggest challenges that people run into is decision fatigue and brain fog mid-afternoon. And one of the big reasons why that happens is because of issues with the vision and balance system. So again, if we're sitting in our chair, why does balance matter? Well, the inner ear controls the eyes and keeps them on target when the head is moving. It's the fastest reflex in the body. And if it's off, what's going to happen is we're going to squint more. We're going to have odd postures. We're going to try and limit the movement of our body with excess tension, and we're going to end up with tension headaches, sore lower back, stiff upper back, and our ability to make high quality decisions is going to drop off a cliff. If we can get the eyes tracking, inner ear communicating with the brain correctly, all of a sudden we've got a lot more fuel for making decisions, and then more fuel for loved ones when we get home at night.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, as when we had our last conversation, I was just thinking about just the baseline assumptions that we live with day to day. And so, yeah, if you're having some of these chronic issues and you have this like constant drain to your energy, and that is, what is in front of you, when you start addressing some of these things, I'm sure your clients have, given you feedback on this, but I'm sure it's like a night and day difference as far as their capacity, their ability to focus, their ability to execute. So just, challenging and addressing some of these, core fundamental assumptions and realities is, has the ability to open up so much. That said, what are some of the things that you would, encourage people to look at and be able to identify, like, hey, yes, this is something that I should look to address? Like, do you have any common red flags that you see across clients?
Yeah, a lot of them. Some of them are kind of funny. Like having challenges parking, having challenges parallel parking. So parking, if you go into a spot and you're constantly off at an angle instead of being parallel to the lines,
that is me. I've not figured out why I'm such a horrible parker. That's totally.
That's typically.
Dom is like perfect. It's like even measures out the sides next to his car, and it's like it's got to be just perfect, and then he's happy. Dom,
Guilty.
True.
Guilty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're the opposite, Ox. Like him and I, we're like on the total two ends of working genius. So that's why we're such a great team. Horrible parker over here, great parker over there. Just we complement each other.
No, some of the drills we're doing together are going to help with that.
Yes, I'll be a good parker finally.
Another one is, so when you go into a parking lot, sometimes you see the concrete bumper at the front of the parking spot, and people will be parked like 6 feet away from it instead of right up to it. And so what that is a sign of is an eye misalignment issue. And if the eyes, 37% of the population, their eyes are pointed closer than what they're looking at. And that causes them to judge distances to be closer than they actually are. If the eyes are past, which that's another 9% of the population, then people artificially judge distances further than what they actually are and end up bumping into things, particularly when they back up. And to compensate for that, they leave a lot of extra room, or they tend to. It shows up with stepping on people's toes when you go to hug them. And it shows up with running into doorways and tables with your legs. And all of these, when you're young, they're not a big deal. As you get older, it's why they become the number one cause of non-automobile accidental death in the world, is because they precipitate falls. And if we can take care of them so that we're able to navigate our environments, the threat level in the brain goes down. So we're calmer in crowds, we're calmer in complex situations, calmer when weird off-angle movement is involved, and we get to live longer.
Tell me more about that last point.
About living longer?
Yeah.
Well, if you take out the number one, if you take out the number one cause of non-automobile accidental death, and it's not a factor anymore, then by default, you live longer.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's totally true. I mean, when you think about it, there's a lot of seniors who are at a fall risk. A lot of them will, fall, break a hip, and then they need surgery. And then because of their older age, that can lead to complexities in the surgery. So no, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, with a one analogy for your audience is going from having a compromised balance system and the system. Balance is made up of the vestibular system, or the inner ear. The eyes work with balance. We've got proprioception, or body awareness, which is how the feet are interacting with the ground and which side of the foot has the most pressure. We've got error correction, and then we've got interoception, which is internal awareness of what's going on in the body. And all of those combine together for balance. And when that's working great, it's kind of like tax-free income. When it's a little bit compromised, it's like long-term capital gains. When it's a lot compromised, it's like ordinary income in New York.
Mike, you're speaking my language here.
And you think about that from a financial perspective, your money multiplier it's higher when you get rid of all drag. And the exact same effect applies with neurology. The more drag you have, the more it impacts everything, and the harder it is to make gains. The less drag you have, the less risk you need to take in order to get big gains.
Absolutely. So when you're doing an assessment with, a client, so you kind of went through some of the red flags, like what is like a typical, treatment, engagement or cycle, potentially look like? Like, are you meeting with this client for, 2-3 weeks? Is it 6 months? Like, can you help me fill in some of those details there?
Yeah, there's a few different ways. So I speak in front of audiences and then do breakout sessions with smaller groups, and those can be a half day to 3 days. I do 12-week one-on-one sessions, and then in some cases those stretch out to a year or more. So multiple 12-week sessions in a row, depending on what the person wants to do and where they're starting from. So somebody who was a world-class athlete who had a traumatic injury, and then both the recovery phase and not just getting back to normal, but getting back to being one of the best in the world, that's a longer process.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you have, any high level drills? So when we're doing these like public speaking engagements that you do you have any like high level drills that you would encourage, your audience, to engage in or, to consider doing to help improve some of these things?
Yeah, I can share one right now.
Sure.
So residual muscle tension is actually a biomarker for longevity. So if you think about it, the muscles in our body, if we just take our head off for a minute and set it to the side, all of our muscles in the body would go limp and relaxed, and they'd have full flexibility. But the brain holds residual muscle tension for stability.
Right.
And it's super common for it to hold excess tension. So tension beyond what is necessary for stability. And that tension, that excess tension, takes calories throughout the day. It causes our muscles to be more sore at the end of the day. So if we can reduce that excess tension, we end up with more fuel to use for creativity and focus and making high quality decisions. This shows up a lot is with neck tension or neck range of motion. So if you just kind of look back and forth 4 or 5 times and kind of see what your neck range of motion is, how fast your head moves. If you go ahead and try it. Just go ahead and turn your head back and forth a few times and see how fast is it, how comfortable is it, and how loud is it. Is there a lot of snap, crackle, up and gravel, or is it silent? Then grab the tops of your ears and pull up and forward 5 or 10 times, straight up 5 or 10 times, up and back 5 or 10 times, down and back 5 or 10 times, and straight down 5 or 10 times. And then try it again.
Oh, wow.
That's always one of the ones that gets me. It's pretty. I'll do it when I'm driving. Just you look a little silly in your car, but like it works. You just kind of, and then you just look to the side and you're like, oh yeah.
It's an everyday drill,
Yeah.
or multiple times a day drill. And the reason is, so here's what's going on. We've got the brainstem
I just got one of those, Dom.
Nice.
He just got a brain.
I finally got one. Ox helped me get a brain. It's amazing.
So we've got the brainstem and the midbrain, and then there's a part of the midbrain called the superior colliculus. And what it does is it aligns the eyes and face and eventually the torso to auditory and visual threats. And with dogs, when you see a dog sleeping and there's a noise off to the side and ears go up and the head moves over, well, that's stimulating the superior colliculus. And we have the same wiring, even though our ears don't move quite as visibly as dogs. But by tugging on the ears, we stimulate the superior colliculus. We get a little more oxygen and glucose to it. We let it judge safety a little bit better, and the brain lets the neck move more freely and releases tension and frees up that energy that was being spent on muscle tension for focus and decision making and everything else.
One of the interesting things with this, like I literally am the most unflexible person on the planet. If Ox can attest this, but I'll start out with our exercise, like touching my knees with my knees, like maybe like this much past my knee, and by the end of a session, like I'm mid shin with my knees completely straight, locked in. That's miraculous territory. But our goal, I'm gonna touch my toes at some point. Now that's going to be a true miracle moment right there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so for our audience members,
this stuff works.
For our audience members who did not do the drill that Mike just outlined, like I was actually very surprised. Like generally speaking, like my neck tends to be a little bit more on the stiff side, and like sometimes I'll get tension headaches. Like doing that initial left and right head turn. Like, I feel it. And like, that was kind of like typical for me, but like, like after the drill, like there's an absolute difference. So super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way the numbers work out on that is it helps about 60% of people at any given moment. And so it might be this 60% now, and it might be this 60% tomorrow, but it's just about 60%. And when it doesn't work, the reason that it doesn't work is sometimes you've got full flexibility. Doing the drill isn't going to let you spin your head around. That might be kind of fun, but it's not going to happen. There could also be a legitimate threat that the brain is concerned about. Maybe there's instability in the neck and it's just not going to let you move through a bigger range of motion without resistance. And that's really common after whiplash and head injuries. And then sometimes it's just because somebody smoked from a long day and not enough fuel. And the brain's just saying, no, you know what? I'm not playing. I'm not going to do that.
I hadn't thought of that one, but that's interesting.
Yeah. So, Mike, as you're, helping these executives, what are, the end result, obviously, for these executives is probably, I mean, there's going to be a range, but focused on increasing their focus, their ability to execute, their ability to think through things. Do you have any other like red flags or like areas that you deep dive into that are very helpful for them?
Sleep is a huge one. And the reason that sleep is such a big deal is people think about it as a passive state. And in reality, it's not at all. It's an incredibly active state. It uses a couple of calories at night, and we're consolidating memories, or we're taking short-term memories and converting them to long-term memories. It's a time when we prune memories. So where we get rid of unwanted memories or process things so that it's not as big of a deal. And it's when our glymphatic system does its job and clears out the metabolic waste for the day. So every time we do anything, neurons are firing in our brain and they create exhaust or ash that needs to get cleared out. And if it doesn't get cleared out, we get amyloid beta up or plaques, and which are very highly correlated with dementia. And so sleep is absolutely vital from a long-term perspective. From a short-term perspective, lack of sleep has the equivalent impact on blood sugar level as gaining 30 pounds overnight. Up to a 60% decrease or increase in emotional reactivity. So we become more reactive to things instead of being able to think through problems before we say stuff. When we go from sleeping 6 hours to 7.5 hours a night, we increase the amount of learning that we're able to do by 40%. So if you're at a live training, a conference, whatever, and you think about getting 40% more out of it each day just because of how much you sleep, all of a sudden the ROI on that hour and a half of sleep, it's immediately positive. Blood sugar, blood pressure, the most dangerous day of the year up until now was springtime daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Because of the hour reduction in sleep, 24% increase in admissions for cardiac events. The fall time change, 22% decrease in cardiac events because of the extra hour of sleep. So it's a huge force multiplier. And a lot of people, especially driven individuals, they think I'm going to sleep when I'm dead. I don't have time for sleep. They wear lack of sleep as a badge of honor. And for the majority of people, it's not. There's about 40,000 people in the US who are what are called short sleepers, who can actually get by on a short amount of sleep. And to put that in perspective, there's about 40,000 people whose net worth is over 50 million. So think about how many people you know who have a net worth of 50 million or more. That's about how many people you know who are actually short sleepers. It's just not that many.
Yeah. Well, one of the issues, and I'm going to, speak from a personal standpoint here, is like sometimes if I've had like incredibly busy day, or, there's just a lot in motion on the home front, or some combination thereof, like I'm laying down in bed, staring at the ceiling, and my mind just keeps going and going and going and going. And I'm just like thinking about like all these different scenarios or a case or, whatever it may be. Do you have any advice for, people that fall into that camp or that category, as far as like, well, hey, here's some tips and tricks to help your mind, kind of slow down a little bit and relax and be able to get, that targeted sleep number that you're talking about?
Yeah, there's two big components to sleep. There's sleep pressure, and then there's the threat level in the brain. And so sleep pressure is when you feel tired. And all of us have experienced times when we're just absolutely exhausted and still can't get to sleep or stay asleep. And the reason for that combination is because the brain is in a high threat state. And so when we think about threat, we've got things that we can control and things that we can't control. And so what we want to do is, as much as possible, we want to control the aspects of threat that we have control over. And it goes back to some of the same things, to balance, to vision, to breathing before we go to bed, uh, uh, proprioception, which is body awareness. If the body is comfortable about where it is in space, then it's easier to fall asleep. If it, for whatever reason, isn't comfortable with where it is in relation to the sheets or whatever, it's harder to sleep. And so we can something as simple as rubbing your arms and legs while at your hand so that you know where your body is in space can help considerably for it to be less sensitive to sheets and more prone to going to sleep. Uh, a few things that we can do. I shy away from tips and tricks, and the reason I shy away from tips and tricks is because a lot of times there are uh, tips and tricks work for a moment, but not long term if we don't know why it worked. And so, uh, a few things that I suggest that people do. Number one is think about having half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of grass-fed butter, maybe with some honey on it before bed. And the reason for that is depending on what you ate for dinner and what you had after dinner, it's pretty common for blood sugar to tank at sometime between 12 midnight and 2 a.m. And when the blood sugar tanks, adrenaline kicks in and we wake up. If we have that butter and honey before we go to sleep and have the sustainable fuel through the night, then we don't get that adrenaline spike and we get to sleep better. For getting to sleep, one of the things that we can do that's very, very simple is take a warm shower. And one of the cues there, one of the things that happens early on with sleep is the body starts to cool off. And if we heat the body up and create the situation where it's absolutely going to cool down, it can help the body make the transition from awake to asleep better. Ironically, taking sleeping aids and things that allow the mind to dissociate, they may allow us to be sedated and unconscious, but they don't let us sleep. And so that's one of the reasons why there's so many issues with sleeping medications, is because we're not getting that restorative sleep that we need. We're just getting knocked out for a while.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. And I really appreciate your answer in that it's important to address the fundamental ongoing issue to properly, diagnose. And, people come to me and like ask for, a quick tip. It's like, well, hang on, we have to take a step back and look at the entirety of the picture. So very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you mind if I expand on that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Okay. So one of the groups I work with a lot is people with TBIs and post-concussion. And one of the things that happens is, so with pain medication, mood medication, caffeine, and alcohol all leach magnesium from the system. Magnesium is required for sleep. And the most commonly supplemented form of magnesium is magnesium oxide, or, everyone's familiar with iron oxide, which is iron rust. Magnesium oxide is oxidized magnesium, good laxative, but not necessarily real good for brain health and for sleeping. And so you've got people taking things to be awake, taking things to manage their mood, taking things to be not awake, whether it's self-medicating or other, that are all leaching out that magnesium, and they're not asleep. And so a lot of times people going the tip and trick route will say, well, I'm going to try kava, or I'm going to try ashwagandha, and those can work, but you want to make sure the magnesium's taken care of, and the zinc's taken care of, and the B vitamins are taken care of, or you're basically fuel additive to a 72 Pinto with bald tires. It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a great example there. So tell me, perhaps you could share a little bit more about, your typical coaching engagements. I assume that, so you have your speaking engagements, one-on-one coaching engagements. It sounds like you might do some group stuff too. Can you tell us a little bit more for people who want to understand, what you offer and how you go to market?
Yeah, absolutely. So the classes are all specialized. So they're either focused on ADHD or concussions or golf or shooting or balance, blood pressure, releasing hip flexors, whatever the case may be. And the reason, it seems like a lot of random topics, but the amazing part about the brain is that there are a few centers of the brain that control a lot of aspects of life. And it's really, really common to have issues with those parts of the brain. And when we get them working the way that they were designed to work, then all of a sudden there's downstream impacts all over the place. And so there's live small group trainings where I go into topics like those. Then I've got 50 video courses that I have created over the last decade that where people can sign up for those and take them on their own time. And then the one-on-one is all custom. So it depends on what the individual has that they want to deal with. It could be long COVID. It could be working together after being on a motorcycle and going head on with a pickup, or stroke recovery, or just I'm number 10 in the world and I want to be number 1 in the world.
That was me. I'm number 10. Really want that number 1 title. So, you're going to get me there, Ox, I know.
Absolutely. Toe touch champion.
Toe touch champion. Guinness Book of World Records. From farthest away to who is the farthest away from it to get to the toes? That's the new Guinness World Record for me. Yep. From knees to toes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Anyhow, so and to kind of follow up on that, and thanks for expanding on that. So it sounds like professional athletes benefit from this. Also executives, but I'm sure that there's day-to-day individuals who aren't in either of those roles that would also benefit, right? So you listed out some of those red flags. So I don't know if there's anything else that you can expand upon, or it's like, hey, if you're dealing with XYZ, then definitely consider reaching out and seeing if there'd be some benefit from engaging with you.
Oh yeah, well, like one example is the book, and it's at ADHDadvantage.com, and it the drills in there. I mean, it has helped people, kids who are having classroom behavior issues or learning issues. And one example, my son, he was having problems catching footballs, and he was like, just with us standing and throwing and playing catch, he was missing about 80% of the catches. And it's like, hey, let's fix that. And so did a few minutes of vision drills with him, got his eyes working together, And all of a sudden, he's sprinting everything, catching everything that's within our reach. So we, the next week, happened to see that he was struggling with reading. Had him do the same drills, and he's reading again. As soon as he did the drills and got his eyes working together, and it's drills that are in here. One of the things that happens with people labeled as ADHD because of undesirable symptoms that either they or other people are observing. And the wiring of the brain in individuals who get labeled with ADHD, a lot of times it makes them susceptible to being scattered or different components of ADHD. But if we take care of the sensory issues in the brain, the traits that were causing undesirable symptoms all of a sudden become a superpower. You look at Musk and Jobs and Gates and Einstein and Edison, all ADHD.
Branson.
Yeah, Branson's a big one. And you look at pioneers who said, you know what, I don't want to do the same thing every day. I want to strike off across the country and do something that's completely unknown and roll the dice and take my chances. And so tremendous benefits to ADHD if it is harnessed and if it's under control. When it's not, then it becomes very frustrating. And I mean, when I combined concussions and ADHD and nutrient issues, it was a nightmare. When I got the nutrients and the concussions taken care of, ADHD became a superpower.
That's amazing. And hopefully anyone in the audience who's listening who's like, hey, yeah, I deal with ADHD. Like, hopefully this is encouraging to you and, inspires you to, search deeper. I mean, we only get one shot at this life, right? And so it's like, you got to make the most of it and do everything you can. And if you have something that has the potential to be a superpower, like, absolutely, like, take that next step and explore it, right?
Yeah, it can be life-changing and sometimes very quickly.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Justin, circling back to you, anything else that you think we should cover as we start to wind down our podcast?
No, I think we hit on a lot of really cool topics. And I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of Ox works, and I've seen definitely the neuroplasticity that we have that's available to us when we can get out of our own ways and have these drills and these tools is an incredible thing. And I've seen it firsthand. So I'm thankful for all of your efforts, Ox, and like everything that you're doing to support me and others similar. And it's been fun to see your stuff in action, because it actually validates a lot of things that I've been knowing or thinking about, not only myself, but also about the working genius, like all those individuals that you mentioned who are, the Branson, the Jobs, all those guys, like they're all inventors. That's the working genius of invention. All the pioneers, they crave freedom, no one to tell them what to do, and they don't worry about risk too much. They're just going to blaze a trail. And I've also seen that invention is one of the core traits of ADHD. And so it's so cool. And then seeing how your efforts and your drills like help channel and harness that beautiful gift of invention that is like one of the biggest challenges for individuals to feel like they're lost or they're not sure why their brain works the way it does, because it's not what the world sets out as like the way the classroom is taught. And so I'm stoked to be on this journey with you, my friend, and it's an honor to have you on. That's all I got.
Excellent. Well, Mike, where can people find you? Do you have a website, or are you on LinkedIn? Where can people find you?
Yeah, there's so if you're a reader,
Many places. Because I know how many websites you have. So yes.
yeah. If you're a reader, ADHDadvantage.com is a great place to start. If you prefer video, I've got a free workshop that's a video workshop, follow along drills where you get to experience change in real time and how your brain works. And that's at peakbrainreboot.com.
Excellent. And we'll put that in the show notes. So if you're listening and you didn't have a pen and paper to write that down, don't worry. We'll put it in the description. So with that said, Mike, thanks so much for coming on. Fascinating discussion today. Really a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. It was great being on the show and great getting to talk with you guys.